Ajnanadinam dasya jnana jala shalakaya chaksharam minitam yena tasmai shri guruve namaha. So, Alex had the best question, and oh, everybody knows you, Alex. Yeah, this could go on for all day, to be honest. Yeah, what an amazing question. How did I change since being on the path? How did I change since meeting Guruji? Well, basically, black and white. I mean, I'm just not at all the same person that I used to be. At all. I'd say some big things is learning what love really is. Remember, I was in the ashram just a few months, and I don't remember what I did, but I remember that I did something that was so terrible in the moment. And up until then, it was just a few months, Guruji had already proven to me several times that he's omniscient. So I assumed he's going to come back from traveling, he's going to look me in the face, and he's going to say, "You, get out. How dare you? I've given you this great chance and you've done that." Whatever it was, at that moment it was so important. But I don't remember it. But imagine that. It was so important that I knew that Guruji's going to come and say, "You get out." And so 10 days went by and I had enough time to just accept the truth that I'm going to be kicked out. And so I might as well just rip off the Band-Aid. So he comes back from traveling, everybody greets him, he's going to go to his room, and I say, "Oh, Swamiji," he was just Swamiji back then, "Swamiji, I have something to confess." And I remember the look of confusion on his face, huh? And he goes, "Okay." And so I told him whatever I did. And he goes, "Oh, okay. Well, if you don't like it, don't do it again." And he goes walking off. And Guruji's love, his acceptance, is so great that it is also nonchalant. And I couldn't comprehend this, because it's not that my parents were evil people, but it's just normal. I grew up believing that if you're good, you're loved. If you're bad, you're not loved anymore. And I'm sure all of you can understand that. And so Guruji's vast love being so, because nothing can touch his love. That's what it says in the Old Testament, right? God's love is faithful. Guruji's love is faithful. And yeah, it was just so, it just didn't affect him whatsoever. And I couldn't understand this. So I yell after him and I go, "Yeah, but do you still love me?" And then Guruji turned around and he was pretty upset. And he looks at me and he says, "Have I ever said I do not love you?" Bam! He slams the door. So I go walking back to my room, and, I went through the Bible in my head. Sure enough, God never said that. If you do this, I don't love you. Went through the Srimad Bhagavatam. It's true. The Lord never said that. You do this, I don't love you. I went through the Quran. It's true. God never said that. But many people say that. Many people say, if you do this, I don't love you anymore. If you do that, I don't love you anymore. Many people say, God has said that, but God has never said that. The most important thing I've learned in all of those years with Guruji is that God's love is faithful. And of course, that was not just a one-off incident. I mean, I can go again and again and again and again of times where Guruji stood by me when I did not stand by him. Because, Guruji asks actually for one thing, and that's loyalty. But what does that mean? That means when my fear is arising, am I going to be loyal to him or am I going to be loyal to my fear? When my pride, my judgment arises, am I going to be loyal to him and his teachings of love and acceptance, his teachings of transcending the over-identification with the mind and the body, or am I going to be loyal to my judgments and my pride? Time and time and time again, I wasn't loyal to him and his teachings. I was loyal to my fear, my judgment. I remember, Guruji, I was the first person that Guruji ever said he would make a Swami. And of course, Guruji's a master. And he says it in front of somebody. This must have been in 2007. He said, "Get ready, I'm going to make you a Swami soon," he said. Divine soon is not human soon. Okay? And of course, what did he do? He played with my pride. Of course, this is clearly my dharma. I remember there was a cartoon called Recess, and I would watch it on Saturdays, right? Back when Saturday cartoons was still a thing. And there was, it was about all these kids in a playground called Recess, right? And like all the crazy stuff they would get up to. And there was this one character called the Salami Swami. This one little kid, and he had a turban, and he would play the flute, and like he had a thing of salami that would like dance and stuff. And I so dumb, but I remember some part of me heard the name Swami, and I went, I want to be that. I mean, so clearly this is like what I was born to do, because some part of me recognized this word Swami, even though like there was no context to it. And so Guruji, knowing that better than me, obviously, I don't know really what my dharma is. He does. I was the first one he ever said he would make a Swami, and he says it in front of another resident, and what happens? Of course, that resident starts running around and telling everybody, "Oh, Aditya was my name back then. Aditya will be Swami soon." And so immediately everybody started treating me different. They're like, "Oh, he must be so great, Swami Aditya. Wow, I think I was 19. Man. Imagine being a Swami at 19. That is just absurd. Anyways, so So of course my pride got really big. And I started thinking, yeah, I'm so great, I'm so special, And Guruji, he was traveling one day. We had now moved partly into the new ashram, into Sri Pitanilaya. And he came back, he came off the plane straight to Sri Pitanilaya, even though we still had the old ashram. And I was doing some electricity work. And Guruji walked into the building, and I can hear him go room to room to room where all the guys were, all the brahmacharis, and he just went, yes, no, no, yes, no. That's all he said. Everyone's like, Jagadev, Guruji, Jagadev, oh, nice to see you. He didn't acknowledge them at all. Yes, no, no, yes. And some part of me knew that he's saying which one will he initiate as a Swami. I just knew it inside. And he looks at me, and I look at him, and like my heart stops, and he goes, no. And bam, he walks off. I could have died. This was like the worst thing for my pride. And, but the best thing for me. And of course, it was like super devastating. And so devastating that when it's some months later, when Guruji nullifies all the brahmachari vows, because I was still brahmachari, what happens? Bada bang, bada boom. I start dating, somebody. And because I wanted to run away. I wanted to run away from all the pain and the hurt. That like, oh, I won't be a Swami, so you know what, I'm going to give up on everything. And even though I was running away, and to understand is your dharma is yourself. You can't separate your dharma and yourself. Your dharma is an expansion of yourself. That's what Krishna says in the Gita, right? This is what he's saying to Arjuna. You are a fighter, go fight. That is your nature. Don't try to do somebody else's dharma. It's better to do your dharma poorly than someone else's dharma well. Because when you do your dharma, it's an expansion of yourself. And so there's a purification that's happening. And so, of course, I went to try to go do someone else's dharma. It didn't go over well. But during that whole time, Guruji was loyal to me. As brahmachari, he gave me perfect advice. As a brahmachari. Then when I started dating, he gave me perfect advice. And, then when I got engaged, he gave me perfect advice. And, as many of you know, he was our, like, personal relationship therapist. Oh my God, imagine that. Like whenever we would get in a fight, I'd just be like, Swamiji. And he'd be like, oh, what happened now? And I'd be like, and I would just totally tell him all the horrible things she just did. And Guruji would be like, oh, really? Can't believe she did that. Do not worry. I'll call her. I'll set her straight. Just be patient. And I said, thank you, Guruji. He said, you're welcome. And he hung up. It took Kalyani and I a good year, okay? A good year to figure out that he was playing us. Because she would call too, and she'd be like, Guruji, because what Aditya did. And he would go, oh, no, he didn't. Oh, do not worry. I know you. I understand. I'll go talk to him. Everything is fine, okay? So for a whole year, he just played us. And until finally, I got so upset. And I was just like, what's wrong with you? Like Guruji for a whole year has been telling you, you need to change. And she goes, what? And I go, what do you mean what? And she's like, no, he's been telling you, you need to change. And I was like, what? And then when it dawned on us, we both laughed a bunch and we're like, okay, Guruji's amazing. We called him up and he goes, oh, it took you long enough. And then he goes, for now on, I'll no longer be your therapist. I'm your guru. I want you to support her and you to support him. That's what love is. So, okay. So we did our best. Purified, obviously. The desire to be to live for God obviously was very strong, so we split. And Guruji gave me perfect advice as a rishi, and now perfect advice as a Swami. Why? Because he doesn't judge anything. He loves you as you are. He loved me as a brahmachari. He loved me as a grihasta. He loved me as a rishi. He loves me as a Swami. And that's what I mean, is that God's love is so vast. Nothing we do can ever touch it. It's impossible. Good or bad. And by doing, I'm not talking about bhakti. Okay, bhakti is something different. I'm talking about that which we do within prakriti. That is, our thoughts, our emotions, our actions. These things will never touch God, never touch His love. You come from Vaikuntha, you will go back to Vaikuntha. One day, Guruji asked me, we're walking into the Babaji cave, and he says, what do you think about this? And he starts telling me about somebody, about what they were doing. And I looked at him and I said, Guruji, I don't know. I'm the last one to judge such things. I don't know. And he looked at me and he goes, I did not ask you to judge. I asked for your opinion. And I was like, whoa. But I always thought it was one and the same. But it's not true. Observation, to see that which is as it is, that is love. And in this situation, when Guruji asked me about my opinion or what I thought about someone else, that was a reflection of how I saw myself. I was so afraid to be able to look myself in the face for all of my positivity, all my strengths, and all my weaknesses. I was so afraid. Because if I saw all of my weaknesses truly, then, man, I'm such a terrible person. But that's not how God sees. When we really love someone, we do not project our positivity nor our negativity. We see it for what it is. We see them for who they truly are. We give them freedom. Like a beautiful flower. We don't judge the flower. We just observe it and enjoy it and love it. That's how God sees us. If we are a rose or for a dandelion. God doesn't judge. We're the one who judges. In SoCal, after the Atmakriya immersion, some people hung around, and the satsang went on for another 3.5 hours. And I was telling story after story after story of all of the dumb stuff I did. Like, I mean, I was airing out all my dirty laundry. It's just like, guys. And in the end, Guruji still loves me. And I don't understand why. Because you can't understand why. Why is a dumb question. We must be wise to use that question why. Because why, it will make you go crazy. If you ask why God loves you, why Guruji loves you, you will never get an answer. And that's where I was going wrong for so many years. Why, Tulsi, do you love me so much? And Tulsi, she has my back every day. Every day. You know how many miracles she's done? I don't even know. I've lost count on how many miracles Tulsi has done. Just because I've asked. Asked her to change the weather. Boom, it changes the weather. And it's like, thanks. Why would you do that? One day, it was a Atmakriya retreat, maybe four or 5 years ago. And Guruji did darshan out in the lawn. And it was so nice. And Guruji said, no bhajan, just chant Om Namo Narayana. So everybody's chanting Om Namo Narayana. Then after a while, Swami Keshava grabs the mic and he chants the Vishnu Sahasranam. And this was before everybody did it. And then Aniruddha grabbed the mic and he chanted the Lalita Sahasranama, the 1,000 names of the Divine Mother. And I was about to grab the mic and chant the Narasimha Sahasranama, but boom, it's about time to finish darshan. There isn't enough time, and I was so upset. Like, oh man, why couldn't I have done that? Because at this time, Pariniti Narasimha was secret, and I wanted to show my devotion in a way that only Guruji would know. And so Swami Aniruddha and I, we go up for darshan. He was Rishi Pramod back then, and I was Rishi Tulsidas. And as soon as Swami Aniruddha finished the Lalita Sahasranam, it started to gently rain. And of course, it's true when this is how the Divine Mother shows her grace. You know, she'll make it rain. It's one of the ways. And Guruji gives him darshan, and then he smiles and he says, look, Ma was so pleased with your prayer that she made it rain. And Aniruddha starts crying. And instead of me being a good brother and being happy for my brother that his prayer has reached Anandalok, I get jealous. I get upset, and I go, well, whatever. I wasn't able to chant this Narasimha Sahasranama, so whatever. That's what I'm thinking inside. Of course, on the outside, I've learned enough time with Guruji that, to be able to keep composure. So outside, I'm acting normal, but inside, man, I was burning with jealousy. So shameful. So shameful. Really. The story goes on. So the next day, I have forgotten about my jealousy, whatever, because, but has God? For sure not, but whatever. And I call Guruji. He's supposed to give satsang for all of the Atmakriya yogis. And I said, oh, Guruji, we're ready for you. And he goes, oh, I'm busy. You give satsang. And I went, what? And he goes, yeah, you give satsang, and I'll be there. And just, keep going until I come. And I said, oh, okay. And what do you want me to talk about, Guruji? He says, I don't know, that's up to you. And I said, okay. So I hang up the phone, I grab the mic, I said, Jagadev, everybody. Guruji just told me to start talking, so he'll be here soon. And so I just started talking. And of course, where I'm standing, I'm looking at the door, I'm waiting for Guruji to come. But of course, what does Guruji do? He comes the back way behind me so I can't see. And he came like almost immediately, and he told all of the yogis, he was like, shh, like don't tell him I'm here. So he's sitting in the back, and I'm talking. I went out for like 2 hours, because I'm just waiting. I'm just waiting for him to come. And he's just not coming. And he just sat there and listened. Oh my God, terrible. Anyways, after the last part, as I'm telling this story, which encapsulates the relationship between God, Guru, and disciple. Guruji told this story right before the whole thing happened in 2008, when half of his devotees left. And of course he was telling it as a warning, because he knew what was about to happen. And I'm so grateful he told this story, because somehow the story really hit me. And so the story goes is that there was this Swami. He was the guru of a village, and he was very arrogant. He thought very highly of himself, and of course the village loved him very much. I mean, he was their Swami. He was their, guru. So one day, he tells everybody, he goes, tomorrow we'll have a big festival in my honor. I want kirtanyas and gifts from everybody. I say, yes, Gurudev. And bam, the whole village stops everything they're doing, and they're working really hard to make this big festival. So the next day comes, he's sitting up on the stage, there's the kirtanyas, he's singing with them, it's very nice, everybody's having a great time, everybody's praising their guru. And then he stops and he says, it is time. Bring me your gifts. So everybody happily, they come and they're giving all the gifts. And there's this one old lady. She has in her possession a cow and a pot to hold the milk, which she milks for that day to sell, to get everything she needs. That's all she has in her possession, nothing more. So she comes up to the guru, and she has her pot of milk, and she puts it in front of her guru, and she says, Gurudev, I wish I could give you more, but this is all I have. And he gets so angry, and he kicks the pot, and he says, how dare you bring me a pot of milk? I am your guru. To get rid of this great sin, go drown yourself in the Ganges. And she says, yes, Gurudev. And even just saying this story makes me want to cry. And she runs off to the Ganges. And she's about to throw herself into the waters, and Ganga Ma appears and says, my child, what are you doing? And she says, oh, hi, Ganga Ma. Well, I'm going to drown myself in your waters. And she says, why? Well, my guru said I have to because I did a great sin today. Mahabapam. And Gangama says, oh, that arrogant Swami. Give him this. And Gangama hands her this mystical artifact. It's a bowl which whatever you desire in food or drink will manifest in that bowl, but it will never overflow. And she goes, oh, yes, Gangama. And she runs off. And of course, this little old lady knows nothing. She doesn't know. She's not learned. She just has love for her guru. And she comes back, and her guru looks at her and says, what are you doing? Didn't I tell you to drown yourself in the Ganges? Imagine that. He is so arrogant, he can't even respect her life. And this little old lady looks at her guru and says, oh, but Gurudev, Gangama told me to give you this. She said that whatever food or drink you desire will manifest. And of course, the guru is very learned. He knows about this, and he says, you are a liar. Not even I have had darshan of Gangama. Why would you? And he stops the kirtanyas, and he said, in front of everybody, listen closely. This old woman is a liar, and I'll prove it to you. Bring me a pot of milk. And he sets the bowl on the stage in front of everybody, and he grabs this little pot of milk, and he starts pouring. And he watches the milk rise. And he looks at her like, you liar. Because he knows what this is. But then the milk gets to the top of the bowl. And it doesn't overflow. But his arrogance is so great that he can't accept it. So he says, more milk! And second pot, third pot, fourth pot, fifth pot. Finally, he must accept that this little old woman who has learned nothing, she can't even read or write, has seen Ma, and he has never had her darshan. So he grabs her and he says, please, show me Gangama. Where did you see her? And she says, oh, Gurudev, yes, of course. And they run off. She gets to the place where Gangama appeared, and she said, Gangama, I'm here. Here's my Gurudev. He wants to see you. And of course the Guru's like, is she here? And she goes, no. Gangama, if you do not appear to my Guru right now, I will drown myself in your waters. Gangama doesn't appear. She's about to jump, and Gangama appears and goes, my child, what are you doing? And she goes, oh, okay, Gurudev, there she is. And the Guru looks and he says, I don't see her. Gangama, show yourself to my Guru right now. And Gangama looks at her and he says, it's not like that. I can't just appear to him. But because of your love for him, I will allow him to feel my presence. He falls to the ground, weeping and weeping and weeping, by just feeling a fraction of Ma, a fraction of her love. Of course, this little lady, she has the spiritual strength. Her heart is so big that not only can she withstand Gangama's full love, but she can even see her. The Swami crawls over and grabs this little old lady's feet and says, please accept me as your disciple. And of course, this little old lady picks him up and says, what are you doing? You are my Guru, and grabs his feet. So he walks her back, he sits her on the stage, he sits in the crowd, and he says, please, tell everyone how beautiful Gangama is. Everyone likes to judge the Guru. Everyone likes to rate the guru, judge if they're doing right or wrong. But even if you have an arrogant, terrible Swami, an arrogant, terrible guru, if you have faith in them, God will never forsake you. Never. I can tell you by living with Guruji for 12 years, he is not that arrogant Swami. He is the most humble of them all. But this is the responsibility the devotee needs to have. The devotee needs to say, Gurudev, I surrender to you. I don't judge anything. You know what is right. I don't know anything. And if you have that faith, you will attain everything. Fast forward to, I'm telling this story in the Atmakriya thing at Satsang, no? And Ma makes it rain. And it was blue skies. Just psh. And then Guruji stepped forward and I turned around and he smiled and he said, you see, look, your story has touched Ma so much that she makes it rain. Why did Ma really do that? Did she do it because the story is so great? She did it because she knew the day before I was so jealous. Ma could have, that she makes the same miracle so that I could be freed of my jealousy. Day after day after day, when I satsang after satsang after satsang, everybody, day after day after day with these residents here, or day after day after day when I was there in SoCal, what was the one thing I said? It was always that God loves you. These are not hollow words. These are not hollow words. I know what I'm saying. Because of so many times, Tulsi, Paranitya Narasimha, and Guruji, when they had no reason to, they stood by me. There was... I don't even remember how many times. When I'm the one making the mistake, when I'm the one going into my fear and my judgment and my jealousy, my pride, I was not loyal to them. To be loyal to Gurudev, to be loyal to Tulsi, to be loyal to Paranitya Narasimha, to be loyal to your Ishtadev means that you put them first, above your own crap. I was not loyal. And yet they were loyal to me. It is so shameful. So shameful. So, Alex, what have I learned? I have learned that God loves everyone unconditionally. God does not judge like humans judge. God does not care if you're a man or if you're a woman. He does not care if you're transgender. He does not care if you're gay. He does not care if you're hetero. He does not care if you're married. He does not care if you're a Swami. He does not care if you're rich. He does not care if you're poor. He does not care at all. Ma does not care because they love you. That is what I've learned. That's how I've changed. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Shri Gurupyo Namaha. Hari Om.